Hello, guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. I hope you're doing good. I'm back today with a repotting video of this jade plant, which is commonly known as jade but is otherwise of Crassula family. See how big this plant is. It was actually planted from a cutting. It was planted almost 2 years ago. It was planted in a very small container. See, this is the original container which it was planted in. I happened to place it in a bonsai tray. It had a bonsai at the time. There are actually two different kinds of jade plants in this one. This is the other kind which has a growth habit of growing downwards, whereas this one which is on the front has a growth habit of growing upwards. There are actually quite a few varieties of jade plants. Some are big leaved, some are small leaved, which is this one, which is of a more common kind. There are variegated types as well. So I have this big one which I'll be repotting today. I'm trying to uproot the plant at this point because it won't be possible to repot it otherwise. There's no other way to get it out of the planter. The root structure of this one was actually, I think, almost all of it was in the tray pot and not in that small pot. It is very top heavy at this point. That is why it is leaning forward so much. Otherwise it should have been standing straight up. I'm trying to figure out how to get this out. It was very root bound. It was loving its life in that tray, and I was wondering what's happening to the other plant, which was actually one of the plants which was planted in the tray earlier on. See how many roots there are that are intertwined, and I'm not able to figure out which roots are coming from which pot. So I'm just shaking all the soil out of the roots, trying to get everything out of the pot, and maybe then we'll figure out which roots are of which plant and then separate them. I have tools, but I don't like to use them in such complex situations because with hands I'm able to feel it properly. I decided to trim a few of the branches of this plant because they were getting in my way. We won't be throwing away these branches. We can get more plants out of this. I had a huge collection of jade earlier on, but I gave it away when I had to move for some work issues. But these are the only two plants which I have at the moment of the jade now. So see how I'm pulling away the roots, trying to figure out which roots are of which plant. They're coming off a bit difficult at the time because of how tangled up they are. The soil otherwise is very loose. The soil is not giving me any problem. It's just that the roots have grown into each other. I decided to get the other pot out. It was much more easier. It didn't have that much of a root structure. I think the pot size also was a bit bigger than this one. I don't know, maybe that helped to keep the roots out of the tray pot. I'm trying to just shake and pull away the roots at this point. Whatever helps, I'm trying to figure out whichever way is the best way. I'm shaking the soil away, pulling at the roots, stretching them away, shaking and doing and repeating it again and again. At this point, maybe there was some wire of some sort at the base which was, I think, there to hold the bonsai at that time, but it was stuck in the roots of these plants maybe, so I decided to cut it off. Let's try pulling away the roots again. It's come a long way, so maybe it will separate at this point, I think. I'm sorry for this weird angle because I'm very new to making video content, so bear with me. I'm still trying to figure out which root should I pull at next. The loose soil, I think it helped a little bit. See, the roots are almost free of the soil. It's just a little bit of tangling of the roots of these two plants. And finally, we've managed to get the plant out. Let's keep that other plant aside for the time being. I'll put it in another pot that I had prepared to just hold it. And let's see how this one is and try to get it out. Let's clear the workstation, this table before. So we have open space to handle the plant freely. I did not touch these plants for a long time. I maybe didn't even fertilize them. Earlier on, I used to fertilize them like once or twice a year, but I don't think I did that in the last year. So it was all natural growth without any supplements of any sort. I think I'll have to cut the pot open at this point. There's no other way to get the roots out. They're coming out of the drainage holes and they're totally stuck in there. So I'm cutting the pot. The pot was also, I think, at the end of its life. It was getting cut very easily. See, I am able to even rip it apart. And I was not even using that much force. It was a bit complicated, to cut the plastic out of those roots. It was totally stuck at a few spots. I was not even able to get the cutter inside it. At this point I was thinking maybe I should trim the roots off, but it would have been very bad for the plant because we don't know how much root structure, because there was hardly any root structure inside that pot. Most of the root structure was outside. And I think this pot had only cocoa peat in it. It was just supposed to be a very short term pot for these cuttings, which turned out to be a very long term. I had to be very careful to not cut the roots and just cut the plastic at this point. It was really stuck. Some roots were really thick and the drainage holes were really small, so they were stuck in those drainage holes, and the plastic was expanding and stretching, and it was very difficult to cut the pot at this point. I did not want to damage or cut the roots, so I was being as careful as I could. Almost all the plastic is out, but just a tiny piece is stuck in there, and I want to get rid of it all. So I'm trying to be as careful, and finally it's done, I think. Yeah, it's done. And here we have the plants free from the restrictions and bounds, and we'll be counting how many plants we have now. I can see the growth from a single cutting. It's a very good looking plant over there. This is another one. Good trunk structure. This is the biggest one of them all. And I think there is another plant stuck to it, a very small one which we've just separated. Another one, another very small one. Maybe these were its shoots which were growing near the base and they have rooted themselves. This one was also coming off of it, so let's take it off. And here we have it, another plant. There was another baby hanging from it, so I decided to snap it away as well. It was just getting in the way. Another baby plant we have, and finally this big one. It has a good base root structure, and even the top is also nice. So let's try and pot all of them now. Here I have a tray ready to be planted a plant in. See, these plants are all top heavy, so I'll be pruning them a little bit so that it's able to stand on its own and not lean to any side. I'm just cutting away the tops, and maybe we can use those as cuttings for new plants. I won't be pruning away any roots of this one because they're fitting nicely in that pot. So I'm putting it up in a base layer of the soil mix which I've prepared. Putting all the roots in, centering the plant, and then covering it with more soil. I'm pressing the soil in as well, so this plant is able to stand on its own. Putting the soil on all the sides and pressing it in between the roots. The mix is very simple. I've put in garden soil, some river sand, and some perlite in it, just to make it really airy and good draining soil. It doesn't hold very much moisture, as this is a succulent, so it won't like very water retention soil. A loose airy soil is what it'll prefer, and that's what we're using over there. I've not mixed it any kind of fertilizer in at the moment. No vermicompost at this time. Maybe after a month or two. I'm trimming away all the leaning shoots, branches at this point, so that it looks good, not wonky, not leaning towards any side. Plus we'll able to have a good look at this plant and its trunks, and we can decide on what shape of a bonsai it will get in the future. This is not going to be its final cut. This is just a trimming to get it in shape a little bit. As I'm cutting, see how the trunk structure of this plant is coming, and we'll keep it aside now. It's planted. I'll give it some days to grow, some time to grow, and then we'll prune it again. Let's take another pot and another plant. For this one, I'm using a very smaller one. It's a very small sized pot. I'm getting all the soil which it had earlier on. I'm not amending the soil at this point. I'm using the same soil it had. It's a very loose soil. It's been watered today, so it's on a wetter side. I'm mixing in a little bit of the soil mix of the previous one. It had a bit of perlite in it. So let's look at the options we have. So I think I'll plant the ones in my hand. So this one is also top heavy. I'm cutting off the stems so it's not wonky and it stabilizes itself a little bit. I'm putting all the cuttings to one side. Here I'm still trying to decide how it should be planted. Again the same process, a little bit of a layer of soil at the base, then the roots, and we'll cover it properly from all the sides. I really did not want to trim any roots, so I was just trying to adjust them inside the pot. Let's press the soil a little bit side by side and add in wherever it's lacking. Press it lightly with your fingers, it will remove the air pockets. And when we'll water them, it will settle down a little bit more, much more easily. Just giving it a little bit more of a cut so that we have a very definite, trunk style. It was still moving a little bit, so I decided to press it a little bit more, add in a little bit of more soil over it. See, if your plant is top heavy, it will not be able to balance itself properly if it's not rooted in. Once it's rooted, it will able to stand a little bit more nicely, but make sure that it's not very top heavy because then it will tend to fall over. Here it's done. Now let's move on to the next one. Here I have another pot of the same size, and let's plant these two in this one. Let's get this soil mixed up a little bit. It was loose and good on touch, so I decided to plant the two baby plants in this one as is. This is a very easy-going plant, so it does not really require much, just a good draining soil. This soil I felt was good enough. Again, these were very top heavy, so I decided to trim them a little bit so that they can stand in the pot properly. Press the roots nicely. It was not completely full, so I decided to add in a little bit with the soil mix which I had. This one does not have that good of a trunk structure, so but I decided not to prune it at this time. Let's grow it out a little bit and then we'll decide. It will These grow really fast, so it won't take that much time. It's and it's done. Let's move on to the next one now. I actually came across a bit of an issue with that bigger one. Its root had plastic still stuck to it, and while trying to get it all sorted, I forgot to record that part. And when I looked at it, I couldn't go back in time to show you guys. So here is that final thing which is left of it. So we'll plant these two together and hopefully it grows back fast. And then we'll plant it in a bonsai tray once it has a good root structure to hold itself on its own. This was also, I was not amending this soil as well. It was loose soil, it was not compact. The drainage was also good in this spot. It had many drainage holes, so it won't hold water as much. And this is the last one. Let's pack it properly. Again, just pressing the soil gently down so that we get rid of all the air pockets. Tap it a few times if you want to, if you can. This helps settling down the soil, because once you'll water it, otherwise the soil will settle down a lot. But if you tap it, it gets settled down easier. It will settle down again, but not as much. And here I am just giving it some final cuts so that it grows uniformly all around. And we're done with the planting part of today. Let's get all the extra soil in one place and I'll show you the final result. I'll be watering them now, and the next watering will be once the top layer is a bit dry. I'll keep them in a shady or dappled sun area now, and then after a week or so I'll move it in a fully sunny area. The jade plant likes to be in full sun and does not like being watered regularly. Only water it when the topsoil is a bit dry. And that is it for today. Here are all the plants that we got from those cuttings which I planted earlier on. And here is the other one which I did not do anything to. I think I'll maybe repot it in a basket, hanging basket, because it grows downwards, so it will look good in a hanging basket. We'll do that some other time. And that is it, guys. Bye. I hope you like my video, so please do like and subscribe to my channel. Thank you for watching. Bye.